So hey everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Morpheus Darkson, and this video is gonna be an explanation, information dump about Lucifuge Rofocale, the archdemon of Satariel. Lucifuge in my research has been one of the most interesting, scary, as well as the most fascinating demon that I've ever learned about. Lucifuge Rofocale is probably the most powerful demon that has taken a stand in human evolution, as well as created historical events as well as molded them towards his purpose. Lucifuge Rofocale is a demon that is most commonly known in the occult circles as the demon of wealth, power, as well as knowledge. The reason for that is that wealth is very much connected to power, as well as how we all know that magic itself is an expression of wealth, and knowledge is in the end just an expression of accumulated wealth, and accumulation of wealth is also shown in accumulation of knowledge as well, because knowledge is a sort of power and a sort of wealth. So in this video we are going to be discussing Lucifuge Rofocale, his aspects, his history, and the basics that I've learned from him. This is an upgradation of my old video. In my old video we discussed a few things, and in this video I'm going to be specifying everything. Lucifuge Rofocale is most commonly known from his appearance in the Grand Grimoire that was made in the Middle Ages. The grimoire itself is a production of left-hand sorcery mixed with pagan Celtic lore, as well as some sort of mold of the Abrahamic god. The reason Lucifuge Rofocale evolved so much is that he had a lot of similarities with another demon. That demon was Mephistopheles, and you know Mephistopheles more commonly due to the name Mephisto in Marvel Comics, as well as the story of Faust and the demon. In this story, Faust, a scientist, sold his soul to the devil to gain knowledge and power, and in the end he lost his bet and went to hell. The idea of selling your soul to the devil is probably an idea of the Middle Ages, because in Christian law, when we read about it, we find out that the soul itself is a creation of the all, or God. So selling it to a particular entity should not exist, and it is a bastardization of the true power of life. And this is probably the reason it was created, to create a blasphemy of the god. The reason Lucifuge Rofocale is much more commonly known right now is his hand in shaping our pop culture is really immense. In the modern pop culture, from the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina to Supernatural to Lucifer, these series and the series, the movie Constantine, in those series and movies we find out that the summoning of an entity is made by creating a circle, triangle, whatever, and the devil is summoned in a particular way. There is an animal sacrifice that is made, as well as other things. The basic structure of this sort of demonic evocation and making a pact is pretty much a Middle Age creation, and it is mostly attributed to the Grand Grimoire. The Grand Grimoire has its place in manipulating and forcing a change in the societal thought of the Middle Age Europe. In those times, the world was a place of fear and despair, and this is a place where Lucifuge thrived. Lucifuge, or Lucifugus, is a demon of darkness. He lives in the dark. The first time I ever said his name, the lights went out in my city. This is his strength. He thrives in darkness, and his incantations or summonings are done better in darkness as well. Lucifer itself is his divine counterpart. Lucifer honestly is more commonly seen as his Lord of Hell aspect. However, Lucifer is also the god of light. He is Venus. He takes the form of the Sunbringer, the Starbringer, the Lightbringer. The Lightbringer, the Lucifer, is a form that is much more commonly taken by Satan when he's trying to deceive someone, or Jesus Christ himself. The figure of the Luciferian archetype, the Lightbringer, is very old. It's probably the oldest archetype that is created in the human world. We have explanations and adaptations of this archetype in Zarathustra, in Hindu Krishna, as well as in Jesus, very much commonly, as well as other figures such as Moses and others. This bringer is usually associated as a wise man, and he brings light and wisdom back to the world. The archetype itself goes back to earliest cradles of civilization and is much more commonly depicted as the Green Man. The Green Man is a really interesting archetype that I want to talk about sometime in future, and I wish that we can talk about it soon because this is really interesting. The Green Man is usually depicted in the figure of Orion, which also in Christianity is a really interesting spirit because Orion is the name of Shemyaza, the angel who knows the name of God. He himself represents the divine knowledge, and Orion is also associated with Archangel Raziel, who is also the divine word of God. This is the thing, everything has its own archetype. When one learns about these things and finds out the reason why they exist, they can gain a much more deeper understanding of the topic. And this is the reason I tell people to study the Kabbalah, because there is a reason why people like it. Anyways, I'm going off topic, and the thing is that the figure of Lucifuge Rofocale is an antithesis to the Lightbringer. He is a masculine role reversal of the dark goddess Sophia, she who fell from the Kabbalah and created the Qliphoth, she who went down to Hades, she who killed and created her husband back, she who is the goddess whose blood flows through our body. And this is the thing, we must understand how everything like this works. When we study Luciferian theology as well as Middle Age sorcery, we find out that Lucifuge Rofocale is a fascinating entity, as in the fact that his role is that of Prime Minister of Hell, and he, while in complete opposition in aptitudes to Lucifer, is a really important part of the hierarchy of hell, because he embodies the part of impartiality in a way in which when he makes pacts, he embodies a void. In that form, he is nothing more than a husk of a being. In that form, he has left go of all sort of emotions and desires, and that is the reason he has managed to make pacts without causing harm or without causing any sort of impulsive decision in the pact. And this is why people venerate Lucifuge. Lucifuge in that aspect can also be associated with the spear of Saturn in Sathariel of the Qliphoth, as well as in Bina of the Kabbalah. In Sathariel, Lucifuge is the god of darkness as well as the hidden knowledge. In that way, we can say that Lucifuge, and by connecting him to Hecate and the dark goddess archetype, they are the gods of magic themselves. When we understand Lucifuge and his history, it is really easy to see how his cult and how his effect changed our world. Every single thing we do and study right now in modern theology is connected to Lucifuge in some sort of way. In modern world, we can say Lucifuge rules the world, and he is the divine being of deception and chaos. In Gnostic thought, Lucifuge can be said to be the figure who tempts. He is Samael to an extent. He tempts the figure of man to eat from the tree of forbidden fruit. And when he does, the world goes to shit, because that was the test in the way. And that is how Lucifuge is gonna be coming to you. If any individual works with Lucifuge, they are gonna be tested. The tests are gonna be hard. When I first summoned Lucifuge, it was in the dead of darkness, and my invocation appeared with him manifesting in front of me in the darkness. There was only one candle in the dark room that was closed off, and there was nothing to see. The primal terror that I felt that moment was inexplainable, because Lucifuge is the darkness that hides in the light. He is the shadow that flees from the light, and when one walks with him, they are confronted with the shadow every single fucking day. When one walks with Lucifuge, what they find out is Lucifuge is a very, very powerful being. He can bring forth darkness so powerful that an individual have to understand if they are gonna survive this. When one works with Lucifuge, they are confronted with both the darkness and the light of themselves. And working with Lucifuge as well as Lucifer in tandem is the key to a successful operation of the shadow work. When one works and summons Lucifuge, they find out the hidden complexities of knowledge. And when one studies him, it's really easy in future works to gain understanding of knowledge of certain things. It's really easy to learn something after one works with Lucifuge. Lucifuge, as the Lord of Darkness, is the god of all nothingness, and he comes to those who desire something and are forsaken by God. To work with Lucifuge, one must clear themselves and gain understanding of the shadow self. And when done, this allows them to successfully summon them. And the reason for that is that when Lucifuge appears, he appears as the demon of darkness. He appears to feed on the soul of the victim. And the initiate must, and this is a must, never fear and go forward. While Coronzon is the demon who devours the soul and allows for recreation, Lucifuge is not that. Lucifuge is fear manifested in a form. When one works with Lucifuge, they're confronted with mortality and death. He embodies destruction, and it is not uncommon for anyone to invoke Lucifuge and start seeing signs of death around them, because by working with them, by assimilating all the knowledge and wisdom within them, they become the vessel of darkness, and that is the final stage of the Qliphoth. And to become that, one must walk the path of Lucifuge Rofocale. Now, one must be wondering how to summon Lucifuge and why he is important. See, the fact is that Lucifuge is a really important entity. Lucifuge is the demon of darkness, and darkness in a particular way. And that allows one to manipulate his essence to play in certain ways. And by doing that, they gain understanding of the soul, and that allows for much more versatile works in the future. What do I mean by that? By understanding the force of the soul, one can make sure that when they work with any sort of magic that involves a soul, they do not get harmed with that. Soul magic in itself is a really fascinating part of magic, and it's really fruitful if one understands the topic. But the fact is that a lot of people don't, and that allows for destruction to appear. Now, while I would say that certain things can be possible with Lucifuge, there are certain dangers as well. One of the main dangers is the losing of the mind, which occurs if one cannot fight Lucifuge. And it's not about fighting, it's about an assimilation of everything that he teaches and everything that a person is. And that is the answer to everything. I am that I am, Yahweh. While Yahweh is an entity and a deity who has appeared and created his own cult and is most commonly known as the Demiurgus, his power is very much utilized in Black Lodge and can be a fruitful way to empower the soul if done properly. And in order for one to initiate to the path of Lucifuge, one must let go of all the ego and first invoke Lucifuge in a circle and ask him what to do. If they're accepted, Lucifuge will find a way to teach them, and one must be aware of it if they want to survive this. This is not sunshine and rainbows. This is not good, and there is not evil in this as well. If one wants to gain understanding and gnosis, they must let go of the living fear and go forward to become the incarnation of the God soul. Anyways, that's all for today, guys. I will see you guys in my next video, and I am Morpheus Darkson. If you want to watch some of my more content, you can watch it on my Patreon. There I have a lot more content that I'm posting, and a really great thank you to my patrons Brad Grandstaff and His Majesty for supporting me in my journey. And also, if you want to support me and watch me without paying something, you can watch me on Odyssey by creating a verified account there, and that allows me to gain income from your views. So if you want to support me, you can do those things, and if you want to have any questions, you can text me on my Instagram as well as my Facebook as well as my Twitter. And if you want to be learning something from me, I also offer training programs, so if you guys want to see me, then I will be there as well. So I will see you guys later in my next video. So everybody enjoy this month that you have. I will see you guys later. So goodbye, have a great day, and take care.